To be honest, I think I'm still one of the most positive voices about Tower of God Season 2, which maybe sounds funny because for a while I was ripping into the show a decent amount, but when you take a look at the opinions before the season started, I walked in happy. I was still enjoying it. And while I've definitely had issues, I've also highlighted stuff that I like that still the mass majority seemingly doesn't agree with. I think Core 2 has been very enjoyable and very few issues I have. Like, yeah, I can nitpick certain animations. Like, at one point there's a dude, like, pretty close, like, not really foreground and not really background, kind of an in-between, and his animation was, it looks stupid as hell. But that's, like, less than a second. In general, the episode's looking good. But there's one thing that still bugs me about Season 2. And before I say this, I want to say I appreciate the fact that they finally gave that little girl some characterization. She hasn't had shit this whole season. She's just kind of been tagging along, and she's been useless because of it. But the idea of being fearful, being left behind, similar to the parents, and, the idea that she needs power to not get abandoned, I do appreciate that. And while this could all be explained because they're just decent and don't want people to be left behind, at the same time, maybe I'm just a cruel bastard, but my one issue I have left with this season is why the hell did they not leave that girl and that babysitter behind? They are actually useless. Now, I'm not talking about the characterization or anything, because they're actually starting to deliver. But the little girl without the crazy hair things going on to make her into a psycho bitch, she ain't gonna fight that well. And the woman with the glasses, I don't even remember her name, that's how much I just don't like her character. She can't even lift up the damn flag to whack fools. They're so useless in terms of combat that it's like, I understand being decent, but like if you're actually trying to scale the tower, at a certain point you gotta cut them loose. And I get it, people are gonna argue, well, that's not in their nature, they're not gonna leave anyone behind, blah blah blah. Listen, at a certain point, there's a difference between saying, hey, we're not gonna be able to succeed if you're with us, we do gotta let you go, and killing a fool. I'm not saying they need to kill these characters, but like that's the one thing I just refuse to accept. They're this deep into the season, and there hasn't been the question of like at least one of them being like, "Are you sure we want to keep them around?" But that's just my personal beef. I get it. That's a personal me issue, but in general, I appreciate that the bland cast that was Season 2's cast is actually starting to develop. Maybe a little later than they should have, but it doesn't change the fact that credit where it's due. Took 18 episodes, but at least this little girl actually had some character to her rather than just being like, why the hell is this useless object with us? But in general, though, Core 2 is like 10 times better than Core 1, and I'm actually enjoying Season 2 of Tower of God, which I never thought I'd say, but it still is holding my interest quite well. Of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full thought on this Tower of God. It's over there exclusively. So, pretty fun episode. Nothing really crazy. It doesn't really go against what you probably assumed was going to happen. There was a couple of unexpected moments, like a dude casually blew up another dude's head. Talk about big dick energy move. He just walked, like, he doesn't even swing. Like, he's dragging the flagpole, which I don't even know why they're calling them flags, to be honest, but that's another personal, I guess, beef I have with this episode. They're just giant clubs, really. He drags it, walks past the dude, and his head explodes. And it's just like, okay, that's a little savage. And at one point, Bam decides to just, like, say no to religion. He's basically getting worshipped like a cult leader, and he's like, nah, don't do that. And they're like, no, boss. We are. So then he beats him senseless and then puts his flag in and says, don't do that again. I'm like, okay, it's pretty enjoyable. We're continuing on with more and more characters seemingly realizing that Bam probably is Viole. But of course, it's not a guarantee. It's more of a suspicion at this point. There's no images to really cross-reference. You can't really interact with them because a member of FUG is always with them. And then, of course, the rabbit girl is pretty much like upset that he's like, how dare you not be a cult leader? Roar! And he's like, bitch, what am I doing here? Bam's just questioning his existence. He's still looking for Rachel, hopefully because he wants to put her 6 feet under, but you know what? You never know. Bam might be under the assumption, maybe it was an accident. Maybe I just need to, give her an opportunity. Listen, I said it last week, but if Rack was where Khun was this whole time, Rack would have bit Rachel's head off within like the first 5 minutes of interacting with her. Would have solved so many issues. But in general, it's just basically, it's a very simple event at face value. They all have like a giant club, which they're calling a flag. If you insert it into the little pedestal thing, you know, all's well that ends well. And then what ends up happening is we get a lot of beat 'em up moments. I was interested in seeing why the little girl went into crazy demon mode. Apparently it was the hair pieces. So the puppeteer, which is actually kind of surprising, she seemingly is like not too crazy outside of that situation, because she interacts with us and is like, hey, you sure you don't want to be my doll? And Prince is like, the fuck are you talking about, biatch? Get the hell away from me. I don't know, I think Prince is questioning himself. So she puts both hair pieces in, says a little magic chant, and becomes a psycho woman. And to be fair, like, she's actually beating the shit out of people, and it was fun. Like, that was like the first thing she really did this whole season. And then you get the more emotional side, which I'm not gonna say it made me shed a tear, but I can appreciate the fact that she at least felt like a person that, you know, like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, technically they're going the route of she was abandoned, blah, 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 and she doesn't want to feel it again. People ain't gonna want to just toss a little kid, you know, to the side of the road, but world a cruel place. She's gotta learn sometime. Is what it is, but yeah, like, I still question, like, maybe not at this point, but, like, very early into the season, I'm surprised we didn't toss her. Because, like, they started the season off with, like, the one person trying, right? But that should have been a common trend, I just feel like, but it is what it is. But the idea of, like, this kind of no one left behind mentality obviously leads to a little character moment about, you know, feeling like even if you feel like you're weak or maybe you can't lift, you know, your own weight as it stands, we're not going to leave you behind. And it adds to the characterization, of course, and that's nice. It's just practically, I think, beyond just being a good person, there's no reason for them to be on the team. And, you know, this is the best way to describe it, and I've been in both situations, both when I carried the team and the team carried me. There was times in school I didn't do shit, because I was like, honor roll student over here's got it, and we all get a collective A. And then there's other times where I'm the one doing the heavy lifting, and I'm like, this freaking lazy bastard is getting all the credit. I'm telling you, Glasses and the kid are getting carried hard, and they ain't doing shit. And maybe that makes me a hater, but I'm fine being the hater to them. I just don't like their characters. I was kind of hoping that the little girl would remain to be kind of crazy, because that was the most interesting she's been up to this point. But, you know, I appreciate the fact that even if it took a bit to get there, and by took a bit, I mean over half the season, at least the majority of the Season 2 cast are at least doing something that entertains me. And as long as you entertain me, I'm not going to be too mad beyond surface level. When I get mad, actually, is when I'm like, this is pointless. And that's where I think the second half of the first core kind of went. But in general, they're doing good. I'm enjoying it. I think production has really felt like a night and day difference. I took a glance at episode 4 or 5 the other day. Like, I just skimmed through the episode, and Jesus, man, the visual difference is literally night and day. Like, this is magnitudes better. Let me know what you're thinking down below. Do you agree with me on my hater ways about this babysitter-kid combo, or do you actually quite love their characters for God knows what reason? Thoughts down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell, and like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout-out. So today we got Jinnis, Frank Stendel, David Walker, Y, Happy Lenico, and we also have Dr. Koala. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.